Hey there, Detroit sports fanatics. I'm Taylor Phillips, and welcome to Taylor's Detroit Sports on Spreaker. You can also find this and all other episodes of Taylor's Detroit Sports on iHeartRadio. Straight and full Detroit and Michigan sports coverage 100% of the time. If you have any opinions on everything that's going on in the Detroit sports world, call in or send a text message live on the show at 231-429-3668. Also, you can add me on Facebook as Taylor Phillips, online at facebook.com/TaylorGatorPhillips14. Like my Facebook page, Taylor Phillips' Detroit Sports page. Join my Facebook group, Taylor Phillips' Detroit Sports Group. And follow me on Twitter at DT2Phillips with 2 L's.
And welcome to Taylor's Detroit Sports episode 157. I'm Taylor Phillips, alongside Carlos Martinez. How you doing, Carlos?
How are we doing tonight, Mr. Phillips?
Pretty good. Tons of Detroit sports talk to get to tonight, including the Tigers winning 4 out of the last 6. And Dan Bartley just tweeted to me, talking Battlebots, haha, I love it. Did you watch it back in the day? Yep, I did.
Are we really going to do this? Are we going to be those guys, Taylor? Are we going to be the guys that break down Battlebots?
Yep. At the very end of the episode.
Alright. Well, we'll save it for then. That's exactly the proper spot for it as far as I'm concerned.
Yep. Let me see here. I'm going to... right now I'm going to...
We're going to talk about the Tigers, right?
Yep.
That's really what we're going to start off with.
We're going to talk about... Yeah, we're going to talk about the Tigers here. Let me see here. The Tigers have won 4 out of the last 6. They took 2 out of 3 from Cleveland at Progressive Field, and then they returned home and took 2 out of 3 from the Chicago White Sox at Comerica Park, and had Saturday's game. Late afternoon game postponed. And rescheduled for a September. Come on, where's that? There we go. Oh darn! For September 27th.
Okay.
As a doubleheader.
Totally. Yep. Late fall, when they really count.
Uh-huh.
Not like they needed any more problems on their plate. I'll tell you what, after what I saw a lot of average. That's what I saw. As a team, as a whole. I'm not going to lump in. I mean, I'll tell you what, guys, I don't know about you, but this J.D. Martinez is starting to look like a serious steal. I mean, maybe we haven't seen his ceiling yet. I don't think we have. I am in total awe. Let me ask you this: am I overstating something, Taylor, when I say that he's having a Cabrera-esque season?
I'm not. I don't think J.D. Martinez is playing like the old Miguel Cabrera, so I'm gonna have to say yes. There's only one Miguel Cabrera. And I don't think anybody else can ever reach that kind of level that Miguel Cabrera has in his caliber in baseball. And
so he's got a career to make. I get that. He's got to make a career of it.
Yep.
But right now, we had to take a snapshot. Is he playing? Is he having a career-esque season so far? A Cabrera-esque season so far?
Well, almost, but not quite.
What does he have to do?
Well, he just has to hit more fundamentally and hit with more skill and hit with just keep up with it with his home runs that he's been hitting, like the one he hit on Friday against the Chicago White Sox, the game winner on Friday in the bottom of the 8th inning, giving the Tigers a 5-4 lead, and they held on for a 5-4 win.
Yeah, and he's proven he's clutch. So we know he's clutch. He's very, very clutch.
Yep.
I'll tell you what, man. As far as I can tell, I mean, eye test, and I'm taking this eye test. I'm not even looking at numbers here. I think he's having a Cabrera-esque season. I guess I want to be overstatement guy and say that. Every single time he's come up, he had a slump, and everybody has a slump. Everybody has a slump. Cabrera doesn't have a slump. I guess maybe that's where he needs to kind of catch up to Cabrera. Cabrera's slumps don't last very long, and they're far and few between. And he's had, and J.D. Martinez has had one this year. He's had one. But holy cow, that kid has put together a serious season, man.
I think J.D. Martinez has done very well, just like last year. His first 2 seasons in the majors, both with the Tigers, last year and this year, have been pretty good. Have been really good. He just keeps delivering when the Tigers needed the most, as compared to Miguel Cabrera and Victor Martinez. Victor with a game-tying 3-run double earlier today to tie it at 4 in the bottom of the 8th, part of a 4-run inning to tie it up at 4. The Tigers were down 4-0 after 7 innings, and I heard from Dennis Fithian of 97 Won the Ticket right after the radio postgame show on the Detroit Tigers radio network with Dan Dickerson and Jim Price, that when Dennis Fithian told his audience that the Tigers were 0-30 when trailing after 7 innings going into today, and they came back from a 4-0 deficit in the bottom of the 8th inning, and then James McCann hit his second career walk-off home run and his second walk-off home run in like a month or two. In about a month, actually, as I can count the calendar days here. Yeah, it's second in a month that to win it for the Tigers, and that is the first win for the Tigers this season when trailing after 7 innings. Could that? I think that could be one of the jolts that the Tigers needed for this season. That could help them make a comeback in the AL Central standings. What do you think?
Listen, the performances out of, if we remember back to our conversation about how we felt about the Tigers in our past episodes, I stated if we had a functional Victor Martinez, we would be in good position. His arrow is starting to trend up. So again, we are exactly where we should not be. I guess that's what I should say. Let's put it all out on the table. We are exactly where we should not be, and we're 2 games out. We should be handily in first place based on the money that is being spent. But that's a whole other topic.
Right.
But there's hope. There's hope. There's hope. I haven't mailed the ticket on the Tigers yet. Are the frustrations as of late less? Yes. But who is the competition, man? I mean, should we be patting ourselves on the back by going 2-1 with the Sox? I mean, shouldn't that have been the big broom?
Yeah,
in our division?
Yeah. I think that Thursday's 8-5 10-inning debacle could have been a 3-game sweep actually. If Brad Ausmus could not have even put in Jabba Chamberlain, but some are telling us that Jabba Chamberlain has pitched very inconsistently this year. He pitched inconsistently the second half of last season compared to his very good first half of last season, and Jabba Chamberlain just hasn't improved or pitched a bit of his first half of the season. He's only 29. He's not past his prime. He's not that old, but he's You saw my post about Tigers players upset by booing. Fans wouldn't boo if certain players played up to their potential and put an honest effort forward. There is some inconsistency, and I think impatience with what they perceive to be bad decision making on part of the coach. What say you, Los?
Well, if they're getting at what our old boy was talking about, that if we didn't like their consistency, that we could look for another team. When players start talking to us like that as fans, that's where the backlash comes from. All I know is that it's a frustration. I mean, I really shouldn't be experiencing this with the Tigers when they spend $100 million. I should be experiencing the Tigers in first place and whatnot. So I think that these type of episodes, what we're seeing from the team from a media standpoint, is a reflection of the frustration that's going on in the clubhouse. Again, Ausmus is over his head. Now I know that the skip is still around, and listen, as a Tiger fan, I wouldn't be upset if they were to say, "Hey, do you want to come out of the front office, throw on the jacket again, put on the cleats again, and see what we can't do with what we've got?" Because I'll tell you what, yes, the Tigers have lost some players. Yes, you've lost pitchers. You've lost high-line pitchers that are performing to extreme levels right now. The Tigers are not as strong in the pitching department as they once were, but they are gaining ground in other areas. And I think that's where it ends up being a waste. How do you put in Jabba Chamberlain? I'm not even mad at Jabba Chamberlain. I'm not mad at Jabba Chamberlain. I think Jabba Chamberlain is exactly what Jabba Chamberlain is. That's what he is. He's that guy that goes in there. He's got a magical ERA. The numbers somehow make it look like he does his job. But other than that, that guy has cost Detroit more games than I want to really. And Osmus doesn't do anything about it.
He just leaves him in there. He just leaves him in there.
Are you out of your mind?
Not just one time. He doesn't do it just once. Oh, well, we left him in there once.
Oh, no. I didn't say once. No, he's left him in there like 5 times. 5 times, man.
It seems like more than that to me.
Like
probably
10.
It's 5, but it seems like I've seen it so many times now that it's too many times. And when is Osmus going to say, you know what, it's time to change this deal? It's time to either I'm going to send you down or I'm going to do something about you because I can't have this anymore.
Osmus still has too much faith in the big guy. I got to tell you. It's just.
Face it out, though. I mean, really.
Los, are you there?
There's nothing to have faith. Yeah, I'm here. Yep. There's nothing to have faith in.
Nope. Absolutely not. Yep. Yeah, I can hear you.
There's nothing to have faith in. There's absolutely nothing to have faith in with this guy. Again, he keeps doing the same thing over and over and over again. It's like, dude, you're going to do it again? You're going to do it again? And I'll tell you what, I don't know. What do you say if you're Cabrera? You're putting together, what do you say if you're J.D. Martinez? I could care less what the guys that really aren't they're not burning down any, they're not putting any posters or ESPN highlight reels for me to watch on SportsCenter. I'm not concerned about those guys. I'm concerned about the J.D. Martinez's and the Miguel Cabreras of the world that sit there and say, look at the season I'm putting together, and we're throwing away because you want to keep putting in Java.
Yeah,
that's what should be. That's what should be. I don't know. And you know what? I don't hear a thing from Dombrowski. Have you heard a thing from Dombrowski?
No way. Not a word. Nope. Dave Dombrowski just keeps his mouth shut and keeps very calm. Or I don't know what secret I don't know if he's trying to keep any secret or something like that, but man, Dave Dombrowski just as if Dave Dombrowski just refuses to take any action. I'm like, come on, Dave Dombrowski, is this the way it's supposed to go? Are you out of your mind, Dave Dombrowski?
Are you out of your mind?
You gotta be kidding me. This is a win now team in the Tigers we're talking about here. And we have plenty of it. We've had plenty of issues already, especially with the bullpen and now the starting pitching earlier this season. And the offense? Well, sometimes yes, but I mean, there are a whole lot of issues to clean up, and Dave Dombrowski is just not clean. Dave Dombrowski and Brad Ausmus are both not cleaning any of them up because they refuse to. Because they don't care.
I don't care what anybody says.
I'm not going to go as far as that they don't care, because I'll tell you what. I think, it reflects from the top down, okay? Hilliard cares. Hilliard wants a world championship. But again, as intelligent and as much credit as I've given Dombrowski, and Dombrowski has done a great job as far as the manager as far as the GM is concerned, because he has acquired some very, very good talent. He's actually gone out and found us prospects that were just about ready to bloom. He traded prospects that were never going to bloom in our farm system for prospects that will bloom in other farm systems. So I'm going to give Dombrowski the credit when it comes to that. But the part that I'm not going to give him any credit on is him not looking at all of that money being flushed down the toilet because Ausmus can't get off of the Java program. And that's just one of a myriad of things that I've noticed from the guy.
That's what made Max Scherzer leave the Tigers and sign that $210 million deal for 7 years with the Washington Nationals.
Is he sick or what, dude? Is that guy sick or what?
I know. Scherzer trying to throw 2 perfect games consecutively.
He's the Terminator, dude.
Yeah, he's the Terminator. Max Scherzer. Yep.
He's got those 2 different color eyes. He's a Terminator, dude.
He wants to win too.
Yep. I know. Look at us. We're remembering days gone by when he used to be our number 3 pitcher.
And then he was the number 1 pitcher in like 2013 and then 2014. And
he blew up.
Yeah, and that
I remember when people called him just Darrun.
That moment when the Tigers got swept by the Baltimore Orioles in the American League Division Series, that's when Max Scherzer thought he had it. He had had it. And Max Scherzer doesn't want to lose anymore. He wants to win, and he chose the Washington Nationals. He wanted more money, and he wanted to win. Bam.
Dude, you learned how to win in Detroit.
Yeah.
Under the skip.
Especially with Jim Leland.
This is almost turning into this is almost trying to turn into an I'm sorry Jim Leland rant is what this turning into. Because really that's what happened I remember when people used to say that Scherzer was just an arm. Do you remember that? And like you said, we thought he was dead. We thought they were gonna have a eulogy for him and the whole thing. That's just an arm. Scherzer's just an arm. And then that 2014 season.
Those were.
They said, well, you know what? Hey.
Yeah. Those were when he was when it looked like he was just an arm. That was like back in the 2010 days or something like that when the Tigers first got him. And then Jim Leland did. Jim Leland managed Scherzer well, and Scherzer just flourished right out of the gate. And yet the Tigers still have never won a World Series with those guys. They haven't won a World Series since 1984. The year I was born.
Taylor, why do you have to kill my rainbow and my unicorn, dude?
I'm just telling the facts. The Tigers' last World Series championship victory was in 1984, the year I was born. That's a fact.
You were born in a great year, dude. But I'm 44 years old, okay? One of my greatest summers ever spent was the summer of 1984, dude. You were born in a fantastic year.
Thank you.
That's pretty cool. And I saw that World Championship, dude.
Mm-hmm.
That was in 1984. I didn't really pay attention to baseball until the Tigers started to go to the World Series. Then I watched the playoffs, and I watched the World Series, and yeah, ever since then I've watched baseball. I don't know, I guess I just want to share tonight. I don't know. Anyways, Back to the Tigers.
Yep, to today's Tigers, yep. I want to talk about I want to get back to the Tigers players continuing to talk about fans booing them. Ian Kinsler reacting last Thursday late afternoon after their 8-5 10-inning loss. Ian Kinsler says Ian Kinsler talked about he said that the fans can boo all they want. It's kind of like that's kind of like Joe Nathan-esque. And I don't know.
Are you kidding me? He had a case of the Ebrons. He had a case of the Ebrons, dude. The media's being mean to me, and if the fans don't like it, they can cheer for someone else.
That's what Kinsler said. Kinsler said if they don't like us, they can root for a different team. I mean, come on.
That's what I mean. Isn't that crazy? Like the Tigers, like the Tigers belong. Like the Tigers belong to him, man. The Tigers are ours. The Tigers are the fans. We were fans before Kinsler got here, and we'll be fans when Kinsler's gone. Okay? So for any athlete, in my opinion, it's the most idiotic thing to come out of their mouth is to say, go root for another team if you don't like this one. Because you know what?
Goodness.
It's our team. If we don't want you, if you don't cut it here pretty quick,
Are you out of your mind?
you're gonna be broomed.
Yeah, broomed again in the ALDS if you make the postseason again. That just makes all the fans tune out. It makes the audience tune out of the radio station and listen to a different radio station, and it's trying to like bring the ratings back down, bringing the market back down to a low, and that's just pathetic. That is totally pathetic.
Oh, man!
And if I were a player reacting to fans booing, I would actually instead I would have said, I let those fans down. I'm sorry. I deserve to be booed.
Right?
It's my fault.
Right? Yep.
I have to fix this. I thank you. I thank you for your support, and I thank you for your concern. Stop booing. If you don't like me, go root for another team. That is just rude. The fans care about you. The fans don't hate you. The players think the fans hate them. They don't.
Right? We could have lived with a no comment. We could have lived with a no comment, right? If he just came out and said no comment, what do you think?
Well,
he could have said no comment, and we all
I'm gonna have to disagree with that. It's 50-50. I'm gonna have to disagree with that. No comment. That's still not apologizing. You have to. You still have to say, I let this team down, and I'm sorry. That's just the way it has to go. That's just the way it has to go.
And I'm not saying that you're wrong one bit. That's exactly what I think you should have done. That really, if he was actually thinking, if he was using his brain, okay, as a product or as a brand, so to speak, he would know that he should not at any time tell the fans to do anything other than love him and the Tigers. Right? If he had a half ounce of business smarts as a brand, he knows he should not be saying those things. Right? It probably went crazy after he said those things. But again, I would have lived with a no comment as opposed to him coming out and saying those things. And then again, he comes out and says these things, and have you heard anything from the skip on any? Has Allsmith said anything about it?
Nope.
That he agrees with them, or he disagrees with them, or is it who's running this team?
Apparently nobody except the Eliches, if you want to put it that way. I mean,
I wonder how long that's going to last.
Man, it seems like it's forever, man. Both Osmus and Dombrowski should be fired.
No, I'm not ready to bury Dombrowski, dude. I am not ready to bury Dombrowski. Dombrowski has he's got a little credit with me, okay? But Osmus has got to go like yesterday. Osmus has to go like yesterday. I get it now. My plan for the Tigers moving forward would be to go up to Leland's office and knock on his door real softly and say, hey, listen, dude, we're at the break, so we're not asking you to steer the ship the whole voyage. We just need you to guide it home, baby, and see what he has to say. Because, again, I'm done with all.
I think you're buffering a bit, Los.
I am done with Osmus.
Me too.
I would go and knock on the door. I would go and knock on that door to Leland and say, hey, we've been through the whole voyage. Okay, we're at the halfway point. Guide us home, man. It shouldn't be a grind. Give us all you got one last time. Because the window's closing, man. The window's closing. I don't think you're going to see Cabrera keep this up. As crazy as that makes me sound, I don't think Cabrera's going to keep going. Verlander's already, the arrow's pointing down on Verlander. Every time they come up with the back or his arm or his shoulder or whatever, it's all a core muscle problem with that dude. And every time they give him a healthy scratch, it scares me. They're paying. Dude, we were complaining about Nick Castellanos, right?
Nick Castellanos.
About him. He makes $500. Yeah, Castellanos. That's what I said. I don't know if it comes out wrong on the other end with you, but that guy, right? They're paying him $525,000.
That's a low. Yeah, and there's no. Yeah, yeah. Right now, he deserves to be paid that low of money because he's just not performing. He's already in his second year, just like Brian Osmus is in his second year in managing in the major leagues, and Osmus is still not learning, whereas Nick Castellanos is still not hitting, and he keeps making those errors. Andrew Romine and Josh Wilson have proved that they are better than him. They're young, but there are good young players in there. Then there are bad young players. Andrew Romine and Josh Wilson are good young players. Nick Castellanos is a bad young player. Simple as that.
And I think Nick is a good player. But Nick is a good player. Again, this is where I think it all boils back down to Osmus. If you have two guys that are good, help me understand this logic. If you can explain it to me, I wish you would, okay?
Yep.
You got two guys that are playing better than Nick. Why aren't those two players playing? Let's forget their names. You have two players that are playing better than the one that's in there, right? And he's supposed to be like a really intelligent guy, like a super genius style dude. Ivy League, smartest guy in the room type stuff, and he's missing. I got two guys that are playing better than Nick, and I can't find a place for them, and I keep Nick in there.
Carlos, you're cutting off.
Yeah, no, I'm saying that's it. Nick, you keep Nick in there. You have two guys that are better than Nick, and you're keeping Nick in there.
Yep.
The Ivy League guy. The Ivy League, the super genius.
Yeah, that's Ivy League, all right. This is the major leagues, not the Ivy Leagues. That is uncomparable. Uncomparable. Let me repeat that word for you. Uncomparable. And Ivy League baseball is like for wussies. Major League Baseball is a league for real professionals here. Guys that are way tougher.
No, listen. When I say Ivy League, I'm referring to the education you get in the Ivy League. I'm not really referring to the level of competition in the Ivy League of baseball. You're supposed to be, world moguls come from the Ivy League. So here's this guy that's super supposed to be super smart because he could manage to go. They still have a standard at these schools. There's no basket weaving in an Ivy League school. So this guy is supposed to be super smart. Yeah. He's got two players. Again, I'm going to say it one more time. He has two players that are playing better than the one he has playing, and he won't put them in. Can you tell me why?
I'm not sure.
And not only that, but he likes to put Java in, and he ain't getting every time.
And boom goes the dynamite. Chamberlain blows it. Just like 90% of the time. And that's what nobody can afford. Chamberlain is not too old, but he is a waste. And Ausmus just keeps leaving him in there, and Chamberlain just keeps giving him run. Chamberlain just keeps giving up more runs.
You know what? I'm even past being mad at Java. I'm not mad at Java. I don't think Java. I think that's Java. I can't be mad at that. But Java is not an eighth inning guy, or shouldn't be the Detroit Tigers' eighth inning guy. I don't care if he's Cleveland's eighth inning guy, but he shouldn't be the Detroit Tigers' eighth inning guy.
No, I think either it boils down to either Bruce Rondon or Alex Wilson to be the eighth inning guy. Bruce Rondon coming off the disabled list and pitching well in his first two outings of the season, and Alex Wilson continuing to flourish as a young relief pitcher when some people when almost nobody knew who the heck he was when he came from the Red Sox in the Porcello-Cespedes trade last offseason in December. And then Alex Wilson just wheels and deals and continues wheeling and dealing, and we're convinced that he's one of those eighth inning guys that can get the job done, get the hold. Bruce Rondon, on the other hand, is another eighth inning guy, another late inning guy that can hold the opposing offense to 0 runs and keep them off the board. So it's a coin flip, Los. Who you got?
Well, I'll tell you what, and I'm not trying to be mean here, okay? With Rondon, I kind of feel like we're polishing turds a little bit, because we if he ends up getting hurt here in the near future, I'm going to feel like we're polishing turds. You know what? I do kind of get that sense sense from wheeling and dealing, as you put it, from Wilson, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Continue.
But the real problem lies in the fact that you got to get Chaba Chamberlain out of there in the 8th inning, because really the
especially when it gets in a jam. Especially when it gets in a jam.
Oh, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. I'm with you 100% on that.
Get more guys warming up in the bullpen ahead of time. That's the key. Get more guys warming up in the bullpen ahead of time while putting Chamberlain on the mound to start like the 8th inning or the 9th inning or 10th inning. Well, Chamberlain hasn't pitched the 9th inning much, but mostly the 8th inning. The 10th inning as of late, even more detrimental than his 8th inning blown holds this year. In a 5-5 tie. In a 5-5 game heading to the 10th. And the Tigers were forced to try to make but fail to make a comeback. They scored 2 runs and fall 1 run short, with the bases loaded and 2 out, and Josh Wilson striking out to end the game. But that's on Chamberlain.
And you know what? That's on Ausmus. That's on
Ausmus as well. Half of it's on Chamberlain, and half of it's on Ausmus. Chamberlain is still not.
Here's what I want to clarify.
Yep.
Here's what I want to clarify more on Ausmus and why I think it's a little more Ausmus's fault. Okay. As you previously mentioned, when he gets in trouble, he leaves him in there. And his excuse is, because I don't have anybody ready in the bullpen. Because I'm riding with my guy. Because I'm going to show Java that I'm loyal, that I believe in him. Right?
Right.
At least that's the narrative. That's the narrative. That's an indictment on his management skills. Because where's the gamesmanship in the whole thing? Listen, what's wrong with the minute that you see that Java begins to struggle, what's wrong with stepping out and having a conversation with Java? What's wrong with having maybe 2 conversations with Java?
Right.
Why did you just let him build this momentum? He doesn't even break his. There's where the gamesmanship comes in. That's where it's kind of like a timeout. Hey, this guy, when like in basketball, when you're not quite getting to your spots, and the coach has to say, hey, wake up, this is what's going on. You would think he would do something, but he does nothing. He doesn't do anything. So do I blame Java? Do I say, well, Java, you were getting killed there, and probably the best thing that could have happened is, 1, we should have pulled you, or 2, we should have kind of slowed everything down and talked about it. Instead, we let you stand out there and roast like a weenie, and then you go mad because we lost like we do.
Yep. And that's just like the same old story every day.
Right, but there's hope. We're only 2 games out. At the end of the day, I mean, really, do we sound like a bunch of sissies? Do we sound like a bunch of crybabies? We're 2 games out. Victor Martinez is coming around. JD Martinez is coming around. JD Martinez is having a hell of a year. I'm going to bang on JD Martinez. He's one of my favorite Tigers. You know that? I want to make sure that everybody talks a little bit more about, or listens, or whatever it is, express some value to JD Martinez, because the guy is playing an outstanding season. I am proud he's a Tiger. I'm glad I'm a fan because of J.D. Martinez. Take that, Kinsler.
Yep. Yeah, J.D. Martinez never complains about the fans. He's a proud player. He can take hits, and he can produce at the plate. And he's young too. He's not arrogant. He is a team player, and I think the Tigers should re-sign J.D. Martinez. It's time for he's another example of why some of the young guns have flourished. J.D. Martinez, James McCann, Alex Wilson, Josh Wilson, Andrew Romine, Bruce Rondon, still young.
What's your prediction on Rondon? What do you think Rondon does? What do you think Rondon does?
Well, he's a hard thrower, and he throws a wicked split finger. Of course, he throws his curveball. I don't know how effective that is, but he has had 2 shutout outings of this season and of late, and I think the Tigers just need to use Rondon more times. See where he goes from there. What do you think?
I was all excited about Wilson. I want a guy that's wheeling and dealing. I mean, the way you described Wilson, he's wheeling and dealing.
Yep.
Would you like to see a guy that might be good or that might continue to throw hard? And I'll give it to you. Rondon in the minors has done, but haven't we already seen this movie with Rondon? Isn't this like the 3rd time with Rondon going through this movie? He's 3 years in, isn't he?
Yep. I would put Wilson on in the 8th inning, and probably Rondon in the 7th. If I'm a manager and I see one of my starting pitchers go like 6 innings or less, then I would prepare Bruce Rondon for the 7th inning, and then Alex Wilson in the 8th inning, setting up Joakim Soria, the closer, in the 9th inning. Just barely got a save Friday night. Got some work in. Didn't allow a run. He pitched a 1-2-3 9th inning Sunday afternoon, giving the offense a chance to win the game, and they took advantage of it on the James McCann home run, walk-off style, as I mentioned before. That's about it. I think both Rondon and Wilson are your two separate setup guys. Rondon in the 7th, Wilson in the 8th, and then Soria in the 9th. What do you think about that?
I'm with you. I'll give it a try, because what we're doing now isn't working. I would throw that against the wall and see if it's stuck.
Tigers are home against the Pittsburgh Pirates next. Took 2 out of 3 about 2.5 months ago in Pittsburgh. The one that they lost was the first of the season, but they took the last 2. The Pirates not doing too well. The Tigers winning 4 out of the last 6.
The Pirates suck.
Yep.
So if we lose any of the games to the Pirates, then we're probably not going to feel too good about ourselves, right? Or shouldn't, anyways.
Right. Looking at the standings right now, as you mentioned, the Tigers are 2 games back. Wait, 6.5 games back. 6.5 games back of the Kansas City Royals in 3rd place. The Twins are 5.5 games back. A game and a half away from the wild card spot. The Royals lead the division, the AL Central Division, with a 44-28 record. Twins are 40-35. The Tigers are 39-36. White Sox 32-42. Indians 33-41 in 4th place. White Sox in 5th. Pittsburgh 2nd place actually in 42-33. They hold the first wild card spot in the National League wild card standings. And Pittsburgh is coming off a loss to the Atlanta Braves, 2-1 at PNC Park. They have lost 6 out of the last 10 games. The Tigers are 5-5 in the last 10, winning 2 straight. They are just a bit above 500, both at home and on the road, and all together. Tigers have tomorrow off before welcoming the Pirates for a 3-game series, Tuesday through Thursday, starting at 7:08 on Tuesday. Wednesday at 7:08, and then Thursday at 1:08. As far as I can tell. The Pirates are not too bad of a team. I think they're pretty good. However, they are 8.5 games back of the St. Louis Cardinals for the lead in the NL Central. The Cardinals are just too good. The Pirates are just focused on getting into the postseason, and so are the Tigers. But the Tigers still, like I mentioned, are 6.5 games back in 3rd place, 1 game back of the Twins for 2nd place, and a game and a half back of the wild card spot.
Right, and the just get in.
Yep.
We're 2 games back of the just get in.
Right now there are 3 wild card teams. 3 top wild card spots right now. The Orioles and Rays are have a tie for the first wild card spot. The Baltimore Orioles are 41-34. The Tampa Bay Rays are 42-35. The Yankees are a half game back, but behind them, and hold the second and lead everybody else for the second wild card spot at 41-35. The Twins and Blue Jays are a half game back. Minnesota Twins are 40-35. Toronto Blue Jays 41-36. The Tigers are 39-36. The Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim are 2 games back at 39-37. The Texas Rangers are 38-38, 3 games back. That's as close as it's going to get. The rest are bringing up the rear. The Seattle Mariners 34-42, and the Cleveland Indians 33-41. Both 7 games back. The Boston Red Sox 34-43, 7.5 games back. The Oakland Athletics struggling. They lost 3 straight. Today they lost 5-3 to the Kansas City Royals at home. 34-44, 8 games back. The Chicago White Sox are 8 games back as well at 32-42.
Question.
Yeah.
Here's the question after all that. If the Tigers had to play the Yankees for a play-in game, who would win that game? Right now today.
I would still say the Yankees. Tough prediction for me. But I think maybe not so tough. Joe Girardi can outmanage Brad Ausmus really easily when it comes.
He's asleep.
Yep. I think Brad Ausmus has to step down and put off managing in the majors for a while and become a bench coach and learn the ropes from a real manager, a real major league manager. No matter who it is, like Buck Showalter, like you mentioned.
Any of his career endeavors. All I know is that Brad Ausmus needs to go.
Yep.
Anyways, hey, are we going to talk about Lions?
Yeah, I want to make it. Yeah, I want to announce first that former MLB outfielder Darryl Hamilton of the Milwaukee Brewers was recently killed in a murder-suicide incident. He was like 22 or 23. My deepest condolences to him and his family. So let's move on to the Lions. Let's move on to the Lions.
Hey, well, let me throw a condolence out too, man. I mean, serious.
Go ahead.
I think that we need to really seriously stop with all of the craziness that's going on. You know, I'm kind of almost had enough of all of the craziness. You know.
What kind of craziness are you talking about?
I'm talking about the shooting down in North Carolina. I'm talking about, you know, these type of situations where you have a murder-suicide. You know, I think we need to all pay attention a little more. I think we all should be paying attention to our surroundings and the people that are around us, you know, because there are people that are dealing with things that we're not understanding, and that's why it's leading to these kind of things that we're seeing. So, yeah, I really do feel for the family. When I saw that, I was like, you know, I was almost desensitized. I mean, we had to remember to say something about it and think about that.
Okay, yeah, I have to agree. So, let's go ahead and get to the Lions.
Yeah.
We have found an article regarding Lions let me see. What position does DeAndre Levy play?
Linebacker.
Yeah, Lions linebacker DeAndre Levy Let me see. From Dave Burkett of the Detroit Free Press, headlining "Contract for Bucks Levante David could impact Lions signing DeAndre Levy." Could it be Sue deja vu for the Lions with the Buccaneers impacting the market for a top defensive player? Their defensive player is closing in on 8 months away from unrestricted free agency, and if the Lions want to prevent him from getting there, they'll probably have to offer him a contract that'll make him the highest paid player at his position. If the Lions wait to act, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers might help define the market for them by giving their own younger star at the same position a life-altering deal. Sound familiar? A year after the Lions failed to sign Ndamukong Suh to a summer extension, only to lose him to free agency a few months later, after the Bucs re-upped with Gerald McCoy, the NFC foes are heading down parallel paths with the best 4-3 outside linebackers in the game, DeAndre Levy and Levante David. The situation isn't identical to what happened a year ago when Sue and McCoy used their massive leverage in different ways to land two of the richest contracts in NFL history. Sue with the Miami Dolphins after spurning the Lions' off-season advances, and McCoy early last fall with the Buccaneers. But Levy and David are screaming toward new contracts, and for the Lions it makes sense to get a deal done as soon as possible. Joel Corey, Corry, a former agent who now covers the business side of football for CBS Sports, said, quote, "I'd try to get that thing done before David's deal hits the market. Once you got David in the marketplace, and I'm assuming that's going to be a strong deal, that would be a focal point of discussions, or that's going to be an important data point, at least from the agent's mind and the player's mind," unquote. With Sue gone, Levy is the biggest terror left on a defense that ranked second in the NFL last year, even if some of his teammates have more accomplished resumes like Haloti Ngata or more tantalizing upside like Darius Slay and Ziggy Ansah. Levy led the Lions with career highs of 151 tackles and 2.5 sacks last year, and in 2013 he tied for second in the NFL with 6 interceptions. He's a complete linebacker, though some of his talents are masked, overlooked even, because of the scheme he plays in. In the NFL, 4-3 outside linebackers are near the bottom of the pay scale, ahead of the specialists 3-4 defensive tackles and not much else. Minnesota Vikings linebacker Chad Greenway set the salary bar for the position with a 5-year, $40.6 million extension he signed in 2011, but after Greenway made $27 million over the first 3 seasons of the deal, the Vikings forced him to take a pay cut each of the past 2 years. According to OverTheCap.com, only 2 4-3 outside linebackers, KJ Wright of the Seattle Seahawks and Vontaze Burfict of the Cincinnati Bengals, make more than $6 million per year, both on extensions signed last season. Levy has been one of the NFL's biggest bargains since inking a 3-year deal, 3-year $9.7 million extension in 2013. David is entering the last year of the rookie deal he got as the 50th pick of the 2012 draft. Both players are in the prime of their careers. Levy is 28 and David 25 and should cash in big on their next contracts. But Corey said Levy's best chance to maximize his earnings is to let David set the market now. Corey said, quote, "If you want to get paid a lot of money as an outside linebacker, you need to be a pass rusher, which he isn't. So his best bet for maximum compensation is to not be in a rush for a deal, to let Levante David hopefully set that market for the non-pass rushing outside linebacker, and then use that deal to make his case for a better deal," unquote. The Lions, who opened preliminary talks with Levy's agent on a new deal this spring, got burned by waiting on Sue last year when they tabled negotiations before the start of training camp, then watched him leave in free agency. They can't afford to make the same mistake with Levy, both for the message it would send to players and the blow it would be to their defense. If they can get Levy to the negotiating table this summer, the table is now to get a deal done. You can follow him on Twitter at Dave Burkett and email Dave Burkett at dburkett@freepress.com. Los, the floor is yours on this one.
Listen, David is not anywhere near the linebacker that DeAndre Levy is. So I think it's cute that they mentioned him in the article, but if I'm Levy's agent, I'm not buying that one for 1 second. The statistics look good last year, but sample size, listen, Levy's been doing it for a while, man. Levy's been doing it for a while. This is a splash contract. This is the one that I think that it's pretty easy to put together. I think you guarantee the contract. I think that's what happens. I think if you really wanna show Levy his worth, guarantee the contract. Because he did play for, again, he had his rookie deal. He got a prove-it deal. Now it's time for Levy to cash in on I'm going to cash in deal. So I think it's time for them to go ahead and guarantee his contract. That will be a precedent. That will set a precedent. Sign him for 5 years and guarantee it. And you can set it up any way you want. We'll say $8 million a year for the next 5 years. I'm going to go ahead and give you a big bonus. Half of the contract I'm going to give you in a signing bonus. And then I'm going to put my cap number lower because I know that as these years go by, my cap space is going to go up. So the burden of your contract, me guaranteeing your contract, becomes less and less every year that I go forward in the contract. So I'll go ahead and give it half to you right now in a signing bonus. I'll prorate that over the entire contract, and your salary will reflect a veteran minimum. But what do you care? Because it's guaranteed. If tomorrow you break in half and don't ever play another down of football, I guarantee the whole 5 years. That's what should happen with Levy's contract. Comparing him to David in Tampa Bay, you're barking up the wrong tree there, brother. I'm telling you what, not you, but Burkett. I mean, I think it's great that he had to give us a whatever, and as fans, we need to hurry up and educate ourselves that it doesn't matter what he signs for, because whatever he signs for, we already know that DeAndre Levy is worth more than that. That's why I think it should be a bold move and say, I'll guarantee the contract. You want to get recognition? If they want to get, and I'll tell you what, I think the Lions want to get. You asked me, what position does DeAndre Levy play? And I had to tell you, linebacker. If the organization wants to spotlight DeAndre Levy, guarantee his contract. I guarantee you, the three-letter network will be all over it. Colin Cowherd will cover that. Jim Rome will cover that. Sports Center will cover that. Hell, you might might even get a 30 for 30 out of that one.
Of course.
Guarantee the contract. He's earned it.
Yeah. If I were Martin Mayhew and Tom Luan, I would go ahead and do that and guarantee the contract. DeAndre Levy will become an unrestricted free agent next calendar year. He is 28 years old right now. This season, his base salary is $3.5 million. His signing bonus is $1 million. His cap hit is $4.5 million, and his dead cap space is $1 million. Total, his total contract money is $9,750,000. His signing bonus total is $3 million. His average salary is $3,250,000. His guaranteed money is $3 million. That's it.
And listen, it's not a Chicken Little scenario. To be quite honest with you, DeAndre Levy doesn't have any leverage. You know that? DeAndre Levy doesn't have any leverage. None. Zero. Zip. Nada. They can tag him. And guess what the tag is going to be? About $6 million. It's so easy to tag DeAndre Levy, it's not even funny. That's why nobody's really flipping out. If DeAndre Levy's not going anywhere if the Lions don't want him to go anywhere. But I really do, I think if the Lions want to give him some recognition, guarantee it. Okay, so don't go 5 years, right? He's 28, don't go 5 years. Go 4 and guarantee it. Go $8 million a year and guarantee it.
We wanted to touch on Lael Collins. Gave great thought to picking the Lions. Also written by Dave Burkett. The Detroit Lions took 2 offensive linemen and traded for a third during this year's NFL Draft. And it turns out that they try to add the year's most coveted undrafted rookie to their blocking haul too. Offensive tackle Lael Collins, who signed with the Dallas Cowboys after going unpicked in the draft, said at a Play 60 event today at the NFL Rookies Symposium that Lions head coach Jim Caldwell phoned him the day after the draft, then he gave a lot of consideration to signing with the Lions. Collins said, quote, "I talked to Coach Caldwell briefly like a day after the draft. First of all, he just wanted me to know that he was here for me, and that if I needed anything, I could talk to him, or if I needed to talk to him, things like that. And honestly, I went on a visit to Detroit, and I had a great talk with Coach Caldwell while I was there. I had a great meeting with them. We connected in a big way. It was nothing but love and respected him. I think he's a great coach. I think they're going to be a great team," unquote. Collins from LSU was projected as a mid-first round pick before his name surfaced as part of an investigation into the murder of his pregnant ex-girlfriend, Brittany Mills, days before the draft. Louisiana police never officially cleared Collins in the case, but they deemed him not to be a suspect after paternity tests showed that he was not the father of Mills' baby. 29 of the NFL's 32 teams reportedly contacted Collins or his agents after the draft to express interest in signing him, and within days, Collins signed a fully guaranteed 3-year, $1.6 million contract with the Cowboys. Collins said that the Lions, who shied away from drafting and signing character risks in recent seasons, were right there with every other team that attempted to sign him. Collins said, quote, "I gave every team great consideration and just ended up having to go where it was really best for me at the end of the day," unquote. Collins is expected to play right tackle with the Cowboys and likely would have filled that position perhaps as a day one starter in Detroit. The Lions drafted Laken Tomlinson, whom they ranked higher on their draft board than Collins, to start at left guard in the first round. Added veteran interior backup Manny Ramirez in a draft day trade, and took developmental tackle Corey Robinson in the 7th round. But starting right tackle Adrian Waddle is recovering from a partially torn ACL and might not be ready for the start of the season, and his backup Cornelius Lucas missed last week's mini camp with a minor injury. Collins said he has enjoyed his time in Dallas so far and hasn't had second thoughts about his decision. He said, quote, "For me, I just, at the end of the day, just after going over everything, Dallas was just the best fit for me," unquote. Now you definitely wanted to talk to me about La'el Collins going to Dallas instead of Detroit. What are your thoughts?
Dude, this is not really about La'el Collins. I'll tell you what, I'm glad that La'el Collins found where he was supposed to go, and that he picked the team that he thought was best for him. I think that's a wonderful thing. It's good to hear that he considered Detroit. It's good to hear that because you kind of get a sense that, you know, a lot of the players in the league now are not looking at Detroit the same light as they used to look at us in, which was, you know, you didn't want to end up in Detroit kind of a situation. And at the end of the day, that's basically what happened. But I think it's a huge opportunity for Detroit. Now, I'm rooting for Collins. I'm rooting for Collins because I think if Collins wins the job, they dump Freeze. Doug Free. Remember that name. Dallas Cowboy. Doug Free. They'll dump Doug. And it'll be Detroit Lions' good fortune to pick up Doug. Doug has a home in Detroit whenever Doug wants one, as far as I'm concerned. The dude can play tackle. I'm telling you, if they dump Doug Free for Collins, and he's a free agent, the Lions will complete their line with the right mix of rookies and veterans, and they can have an outstanding line. What I'm doing is I'm trying to play a little bit of a Nostradamus role here. But keep a strong eye. We always talk about the offensive line for the Detroit Lions and the promising, and the one eyesore, the one but. Every time we talk about the line, we always have to throw that but in. But Cornelius Lucas hasn't been healthy, and we know that Waddell isn't healthy, so we really don't have a right tackle at the moment.
Right.
Keep an eye on Doug Free.
Now, we are over an hour into episode 157 of Taylor's Detroit Sports. You can also listen to us on iHeartRadio and on SoundCloud as well. I'm Taylor Phillips along with Carlos Martinez. Add me as a friend on Facebook, Taylor Phillips. Look me up on SoundCloud, Taylor Phillips Sports in parentheses. Follow me on Twitter at DT2Phillips. Like my Facebook page, Taylor Phillips' Detroit Sports page, and join my Facebook group, Taylor Phillips' Detroit Sports Group. Ready to talk about the Pistons? Gotta move on.
Wait a minute. You're dogging me on one of my Detroit Lions topics, dude. The top 5 reasons why the Detroit Lions defense.
Oh, yeah. That's right. 5 reasons.
You can't miss out on that, dude.
Yeah, I almost forgot about them. My apologies anyway. 5 reasons why the Detroit Lions defense could still be pretty good without Ndamukong Suh, which leads us to that. Written by Kyle Mikey of MLive.com. Ndamukong Suh might be the best defensive tackle in the game. He was definitely the cornerstone of the Detroit Lions defense, and he made everyone around him better. Then he went to Miami. That's a major blow, and much of the offseason has been devoted to wondering how the Lions will manage without him. But all that attention paid to Suh has overlooked the fact that this defense still has a lot going for it. Enough, in fact, that Detroit could remain among the league's best on that side of the ball, even if it does take a step back up front. Here are 5 reasons for optimism. Number 1, return of 9 starters plus Darryl Austin, their defensive coordinator. While Suh was definitely the best player on that defense, it's worth pointing out Detroit was mostly average on that side of the ball during his first 4 seasons. It wasn't until Darryl Austin came aboard as coordinator that the entire unit took off. Now, I'm not trying to argue that Austin was more important than Suh to Detroit's rise on defense. No scheme and no coach will work without good players. And Suh's the best at his position. But clearly Austin played a significant role in pulling all the pieces together. He was so good and so well respected, he nearly landed a head coaching job after just 1 season as a coordinator. That's crazy. He stuck out on the job front, though, and his return to Detroit should help mitigate whatever losses are felt by Suh's exit. Austin's biggest strength is understanding what his guys do well and don't do well, and game planning accordingly. Just look at what he was able to do last year, leading the league in defense for much of the season, despite losing his starting middle linebacker and top 3 nickels in the first 3 weeks of the season. I'll repeat, that's crazy. No matter what adversity hit, Detroit was able to adapt and roll on. That's Austin. He's back, and that's huge. Austin won't have Suh anchoring things up front anymore, so his job is definitely harder. But he does have 9 starters back from last year, including all the linebackers and defensive backs. So it's not like he's starting from scratch. Number 2, Stephen Tulloch back in the middle. The Lions didn't make many changes to the defense in free agency, with defensive tackle Tyrone Walker the only notable signing. And he might not even start, but more on that later. They do have a quasi addition at linebacker, though, in Stephen Tulloch. He's been a leader of the defense for a long time and one of its better players, but was limited to just 3 games last year due to a torn ACL of his over-celebration. Just a tip, if you're going to celebrate, do it lightly. You can still celebrate, but don't do it too hard. Detroit's defense continued to roll during the surprisingly strong play of Tahir Whitehead, but Tulloch was playing some of the best ball of his career when he injured the knee and remains the better option in the middle. Now he's back, which is an upgrade in the middle, and Whitehead will take his year of starting experience and slide to the strong side, which should be an upgrade over Ashley Palmer, though he still has to officially beat out Kyle Van Noy for the job. In other words, by getting back Tulloch, Detroit might be better off at 2 linebacker spots this season. Number 3, Darius Slay should take another step. Hall of Fame cornerback Rod Woodson predicted last offseason that Slay would turn a corner by year 3. The Lions cornerback proved to be ahead of the schedule. Slay went to work after a turbulent rookie season in 2013, including spending some time with Woodson out in California and bounced back in a significant way. He started all 17 games last season, allowed a quarterback rating of just 81.1 on balls thrown his way, and was rated the 19th best cornerback in the game according to Pro Football Focus. His highest rated game came against Chicago's talented 1-2 combo of Alshon Jeffrey and Brandon Marshall at Ford Field. His most memorable performance was completely eliminating Des Bryant in the playoff game against Dallas. Slay proved in those games he can play against anybody. Now it's just a matter of becoming more consistent, and with another season to settle into the scheme, to learn from Rasheed Mathis, to rep against Calvin Johnson and Golden Tate, there's no reason to believe he won't be better in year 3. Number 4, Karan Reed trending up. Sue is gone and that hurts, but its impact will live on in the form of Karan Reed. The defensive tackle barely played last year after Detroit selected him out of Princeton in the 5th round of the draft, but he latched onto Sue during the season. He studied Sue's game, his practice habits, his routine around the building. He journaled everything. Then he accepted an invitation from Sue to work out with him this off-season. Now Reed has returned to the Lions looking like an entirely different player. His physical development has been dramatic. He looks like a better, more technical lineman too, though the real test will arrive when the pads go on in training camp. But the Lions already see it too, repping Reed ahead of Walker throughout minicamp. It's impossible to say how good he'll be, but if the development is real, Detroit won't miss Nick Fairley and C.J. Mosley nearly as much. Health at the nickel. People pay a lot of attention to who starts at linebacker, and that battle between Whitehead and Van Noy should be a good one. But with a proliferation of passing games around the NFL, Detroit actually has a nickel on the field more than a third linebacker. That's become a critical position in today's NFL, and that's especially true for the Lions, who play in a division with Aaron Rodgers, the quarterback of the Green Bay Packers. But they lost their starting nickel in Bill Bentley in Week 1 last season. Then their backup nickel, Nevin Lawson, in Week 2, and the reserves like Cassius Vaughn and Don Carey went on to miss time too. Detroit was scrambling just to find bodies to throw at the nickel. Guys were forced to play out of position. Free agents like Danny Gore, remember him, were brought in off the street as stopgaps. Nickel was the greatest weakness on an otherwise very good defense for most of last season, and that shouldn't be the case this year if for no other reason than Detroit has had an off-season to heal. Veteran Josh Wilson is battling rookie Quandre Diggs for the starting job now, and the once promising Lawson will be added to the mix in training camp. They all have 2 working wheels, and that means Detroit is already ahead of where it was at the position most of last season. End of article. You can follow Kyle Meinke on Twitter at KMeinke. And Los, I have to agree on all 5 of those things. Wouldn't you?
You know what? I am so ready to hear an article started where we don't have to revisit the fact that Sue is now longer in Detroit.
Right.
I'm almost sick and tired of that crutch. I mean, we haven't even begun the season yet, and we're already building the crutch of, let's not all forget that, quote unquote, and I'm being respectful here. Again, my opinion on Sue is that Sue was a statistically durable player. He was statistically durable. In other words, he could produce within the lines. He could put it on tape. Where I think Ndamukong Suh falls short from being considered a superstar in the NFL is him affecting the outcome of a game. Never has Sue in his career in Detroit ever. Someone please mention the game, if you would, if you can come up with it. Help me out. I'd like to hear from you. Sue has never impacted a game and won the game. I can't ever say, do you remember the game Sue won? I'm going to ask you, Taylor, can you remember the game Sue won?
Nope.
Because there wasn't any.
Right.
There wasn't any. So, I'm done talking about Sue. Congratulations. I hope he spends that money wonderfully. He's going to take care of generations. Detroit offered him a fantastic contract that he could have taken. And as much as anybody wants to bellyache about the taxes and blah, 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 over the term of the contract, it was $5 million. That was the difference between what Detroit offered him and the way it was structured. So he wanted all his money now. Go figure. In this impatient world that we live in, he wanted his money now. He wanted it all up front. And I'm curious to see what happens in Miami and how does the capologist handle that particular contract. I'm wondering if he isn't going to be a franchise, not a killer, but he's going to wound one. With that contract, he's going to wound some franchise. So, am I optimistic about the defense? Absolutely. Am I optimistic about Slay? Absolutely. Am I optimistic about Reed? Yes, very much so. Wouldn't it be ironic if Reed becomes the new George Johnson? If Reed comes out of nowhere and starts to produce at a level that we never expected? Because the kid, he brings confidence to me. So, and I know I'm baking cornbread, and that's okay. That's what you do at this time of the year. You bake cornbread. So I'm baking mine. Man, would I be shocked? Yes, I would be shocked. Am I kind of hoping? Is there a prayer in there? Is that if Reed comes out and performs the way they're talking him up, the way they're selling him to us, if he comes out and performs, if he did take advantage, and what a lesson for Caldwell there to the younger guys. Can you imagine if he can show the rest of the guys on the team the value of taking advantage of mentorship? If Reed comes in and performs, if Reed comes in and does what we all think and hope that he can do, can you imagine that little tool in Caldwell's chest where he's saying, all right, we have the mentors on the team, like Rob Moore and James Aheadabo, and the guys in our secondary.
Right, like Glover Quinn.
Glover Quinn, Rashid Mathis.
Yep.
I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on.
Darius Slay.
If you guys want, well, Darius Slay's taking advantage of the mentoring. I mean, as was pointed out in the article, he's hanging out with Rod Woodson. He's trying to pick Rod Woodson's brain. I read an article not too long ago that he's going back to North Carolina Florida, South Florida with Mathis, and they're going to work out like Rocky. It's going to be like when what's his name? The guy from Rocky, the other guy, Apollo Creed, trained Rocky to beat Mr. T. They say they're going to go and relive that little moment. So if he can show the rest of the team that that there's so much value in this mentoring, I'll tell you what, man. The Detroit Lions are a passion of mine. The Detroit Lions they're as close to a religion without really being a religious, because I am religious. I mean, don't get me wrong here. You know, the Lord first and Christ, and I'm down for all of that. That's my main thing. But if there's ever anything like a close second to religion, for me it's the Lions. And for the longest time, it was a very sad situation watching the Lions, because you could see their dysfunctionality. You know, and you could scream at the TV, and you could scream at the articles, and you could start ranting to your wife, and she doesn't know what the hell you're talking about.
Cry, baby!
All of those things. To see that all of these things that Jim Caldwell is brought in, and the mentoring and that is beginning to pay off. I'm excited for this season because can you imagine? Now, the Lions. Here's the oddest statistic of all. The Lions have been mediocre for the last 5 years in defense, except for last year. Okay. The Lions have been really good on offense for the last 5 years, except for this year. I'm sorry, 2 years in that. But more often than not, if we're talking about statistical probabilities here, we're just using math. More often than not, the Lions are in the top 10 in offense. Can you imagine if we could ever get these two streaks to cross? And I have all the respect in the world for the Green Bay Packers. Don't get me wrong.
They're one of the best.
You got to tip your hat to them, man. I mean, really, when a one-legged quarterback goes and rubs on some guy's beard and comes back and beats us when we should have won that game.
Yeah, week 17.
Right? We should have won that game.
Yep.
A three-legged quarterback goes over to the bench, rubs the guy's beard, runs back out on the field, and starts playing out of his mind.
Man.
So, yes, listen, I give him all the respect in the world, but I see unbelievable things happening for the Detroit Lions if we can get those two streaks to cross. If we can get the offense that more often than not is in the top 10 to marriage up with the defense that more often than not is middle of the road, mediocre, and be the number 2 defense. Be the number 5 defense. I don't even need you to be the number 1. I just need you to be the number 5.
Just get it done.
Exactly, right? Get it done. But I think we're close. That's the thing.
Beat the Green Bay Packers at Lambeau Field for the first time since 1991, for crying out sideways.
Are you kidding me, man? It would be the 4th of July. I would be firing fireworks off. I'm telling you what, and if anybody said anything,
if they do that, it would be a huge momentum builder going into the rest of the season, going into the postseason, going to the NFL playoffs. Think about that. How do you think they would do after they beat them? If they beat them. Where would they end up?
Man, I'll tell you what, the sky's the limit, and here we are. Don't we sound crazy? That's just it. At the end of the day, we have no choice but to sound crazy. We haven't won a playoff game since 1957, and here 2 grown men are on the radio, over the internet, talking about, can you imagine? And you know what? I can! And I don't think it sounds that far-fetched.
One playoff win in 57 years. Period.
And here we are talking about, can you imagine? And we can. We can imagine that. That does not sound that far-fetched. We're going to have that moment. Don't you think? I mean, the laws of probability say that we have to have that moment. You know, that moment that I talked about with Aaron Rodgers, where you blow a wheel, you run over to the bench, you let the other guy come in, they score another touchdown, you run over to down to the end of the thing and you rub on a guy's beard, you jump out on the field, and you rally the troops home to go on to a victory and win the division and host a playoff game. We got to have that moment. We're due, right?
Overdue.
Right? So the more we scream every year, the more cornbready we sound every year going forward, chances are it's going to pay off. Because we're overdue. As you put it, we, as Lions fans, are overdue. I'm excited about the defense. I'm ready for us to stop with the Sioux business. Congratulations, it's over. Sioux is no longer a Detroit Lion.
Period.
No reason to. to bring him up.
Yep, it's time to move forward and win games. Beat the Green Bay Packers and try to win a Super Bowl. Try to win your first Super Bowl in franchise history. That's the goal.
And you want to talk about torture, Taylor? I'm tortured because you were born the day that the
Tigers won the World Series.
Series, right? You were born that year.
Yep.
You've seen a Pistons championship, right? You saw the Pistons championship.
In 89, 90, and 04.
Right, and you've seen the Red Wings championships.
97, 98, 02, and 08. Could have been 09.
I've seen everybody in Detroit win except for the Lions.
Yep.
Can you imagine? That's what we need to call this segment. The Can You Imagine section. I can imagine, man. I really can. I don't think that loss of Sioux is as big a deal as they're making it. The Lions lived on stopping the run, man. That's what they lived on. They would get you down in distance, and guess what? Mathis and Slade held up, and the safeties played out of their mind. Now, Hedebo got exposed a little bit, but I'll tell you what. You remember me talking about Taylor Mays being brought in?
Yep.
I can envision Detroit straightening out Taylor Mays, and because last year they ran with a 3-safety package, and I think if you let him know that is his only assignment is to cover the pass, he'll be more efficient at it. Now, don't get me wrong, that is not a shot at Hedebo. He is a very good in-the-box safety. He outplayed his contract. He should be paid next year somehow. A little bit anyways. But he deserves something. He deserves to be rewarded for the production he has. He was exposed a little bit last year, again, as I said, in pass coverage. I think there's an opportunity for Taylor Mays to step in. I think, again, I can imagine. I can sit back and say, man, I could see how the Detroit Lions could win a Super Bowl. And this cornbread is filling, I'm telling you what, and the Kool-Aid, it's got a lot of sugar in it tonight, don't it?
Yeah. Kool-Aid always has sugar in it. There can't be sugar-free Kool-Aid.
Anyway, right. Who drinks sugar-free Kool-Aid? Anyways, so I guess we can move on to the Pistons now if you want. We can talk about Mo checking out. What is up with that, man?
That's an old bit. Mo Cheeks. Greg Monroe. Okay.
Right. Mo checking out. What is the deal with that, man?
Yeah, this just came in earlier tonight. Greg Monroe has officially left the Detroit Pistons and become an unrestricted free agent. An article came today about 2 hours early, 2 hours ago. Matt Darry, I saw the article from Matt Darry first from Detroit Sports 1051 on his Twitter handle at Darry1051 from the New Orleans Advocate. Big man Greg Monroe, formerly of Georgetown and the Detroit Pistons, looks for his niche. That's the headline of the article. When the NBA's free agency period begins Wednesday in New Orleans, Greg Monroe will be one of the top big men available. Monroe, an unrestricted free agent who played 5 years with the Detroit Pistons, joined center Marc Gasol and DeAndre Jordan and power forward LaMarcus Aldridge as those available who could most bolster a team's front court. 5 teams have shown serious interest: the Boston Celtics, New York Knicks, Milwaukee Bucks, Los Angeles Lakers, and Portland Trail Blazers. Monroe said he'll meet with those teams this week. Monroe said, quote, "I'm looking to be with a team that's ready to win." Hopefully it will be a team where I'm the missing piece, unquote. He said that at a timeout at his youth basketball clinic Saturday morning at the Delgado Community College Gymnasium. Monroe, who led Helen Cox High School to the 2008 Louisiana Class 4A state championship before playing 2 years at Georgetown with the Hoyas, said he'd be a good fit with a hometown New Orleans Pelicans. Both of the Pelicans' top 2 centers last season, Omer Asik and Alexis Ajenka, are unrestricted free agents. However, Monroe said the Pelicans have not shown an interest thus far. He has career averages of 14.3 points and 9.3 rebounds per game, and last season averaged 15.9 points and 10.2 rebounds. He said, quote, "I'd love to play and represent this city. Obviously, they have a guy like Anthony Davis who is a superstar already, and he's only going to get better. I think I could play really well with him. Our games complement each other. I'm a low post scorer. Obviously, he's a great mid-range player," unquote. But the Golden State Warriors won this season's NBA championship after an exciting season featuring a fast-paced style with Gentry, the offensive mastermind. That came one season after the San Antonio Spurs put ball movement and tempo back into the game in winning the title in 2014. Let's take a little sip of water first. It appears the league is getting away from a post-up playing style of play that is less exciting to fans. That's part of the reason Monroe is available. He played center initially for the Pistons, then moved to power forward when the team drafted athletic Andre Drummond in 2012 and put him at center. The two were the top offensive rebounding tandem in the NBA, but coach Stan Van Gundy wanted a change. Monroe said, quote, "Stan had smaller teams in the Orlando Magic years ago. Dre is like Dwight Howard, so Stan wants to put good players around him. The team has different plans, and I respect that. I don't want to be anywhere I'm not wanted," unquote. A move may be beneficial to both. Detroit went 145 and 249 in a .368 winning percentage during Monroe's tenure. But there's much interest in Monroe, 6'11", 250 pounds, who has been known as a skillful big man ever since his days at Cox, COX. And a good low post player, able to score a few feet from the basket, will never go out of style. He says he has no preference between playing center or power forward. The Celtics have 4 free agent forwards, needed a big-bodied rim protector in the lane, and have $25 million in salary cap space. The Knicks, heading into the second year under general manager Phil Jackson, would like a cornerstone big man around which to build. The Trailblazers are losing Aldridge and want an upgrade from former Pelicans center Robin Lopez, and the Bucks and Lakers each want a center to pair with a promising young power forward who suffered a season-ending injury last season. Monroe signed Detroit's tender of $5,479,933 before last season after a rookie contract of 4 years, $13,110,094. it was not lost on him that he may be an unrestricted free agent a year too soon. The NBA's new 9-year, $24 billion television contract kicks in before the 2016-2017 season. That'll affect the type of contract Monroe signs, he said. He said, quote, he and agent David Falk are definitely looking at all our options. You can see the trend as everybody's taking shorter deals right now. So most likely I'd take that route too, and when the new deal kicks in, get a longer term contract. I'm looking at a 2-year deal plus an option to become a free agent, unquote. About 60 children aged 6 to 14 participated in the basketball clinic, doubling the total of the first one last year. Monroe said, quote, at this age we focus on basic skills, dribbling, passing, defense and stuff. The older ones, we did some typical workouts and drills trying to get them better, unquote. He said his charitable foundation has funded between 15 and 20 college scholarships for students in New Orleans and Detroit. So, Los, I'll bet you're sad to see Monroe go, and so am I. Los, are you there?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's checked out, man. That's basically it. I mean, he hinted to, if you want to throw max money. See, when he starts talking about deals, and he's talking about, I'd rather wait for the TV money to kick in because my deal would be bigger, and so on and so forth. I'm just looking to find a parking spot for the next couple of years before, I really cash in, kind of a thing. That already turns me off. So I don't feel bad. He's checked out. Bye. Again, I'm gonna treat him a lot like Evgeny Svechnikov. You're a good player. 19 points is nothing to sneeze at. 10 rebounds is nothing to sneeze at. But last I checked, we weren't a very good basketball team, and I don't see you leading us to anything promising. So I can't justify max money. So if you want to go, buy. That's really how I feel. I mean, there you go again. I mean, he's talking about he's not wanted. I mean, isn't that a curious little position to put yourself in? Isn't that a nice way to paint the picture so that it makes it sound like it's Stan Van Gundy's fault? It's not like Stan Van Gundy can't use a good basketball player on his team, but he's not just going to throw out max money because he's got a gun to his head. And I'll give, and that's where I'm giving Van Gundy a little credit. That's where I'm saying, okay, I'm down with it. I'll be patient. I will be patient. I have my opinions, but I'll be patient.
Brian Eimers just commented the Suns are re-signing.
Don't give him max money. He does not.
Yep. Just got an update. The Suns are re-signing him a 5-year, $70 million contract when free agency starts, according to NBA updates. Thanks, Brian.
There you go. He's gone.
Yeah, the Suns have signed Greg Monroe.
Yeah, and they're gonna pair him with my guy, Devin Booker. Yeah, they're gonna pair him up with my guy, Devin Booker.
Brian Eimers met Brandon Knight. Yeah, he just recently mentioned him. That Brian Eimers mentioned Brandon Knight. He said, he said the Suns are re-signing Brandon Knight to a 5-year, $70 million contract when free agency starts, according to NBA updates. It's not Greg Monroe, it's Brandon Knight. He's another former Piston.
Again.
But yeah, Greg Monroe's gone.
It doesn't matter. Why do we... Yeah, and why do we have to revisit... Why is it that we have to revisit where old guys that used to play for us play? I you know, again, Monroe's gone. Good riddance. There won't be a moment of silence around me. I won't be having a funeral. I never had a Monroe jersey, so I don't have to burn it. So I'm good. See ya. Wouldn't want to be ya. Now the question is, where do we go from here?
Well, the Pistons have. Well, first off, that leads us to that. The Pistons have already traded Caron Butler and Sean Williams to the Milwaukee Bucks for Ersan Ilyasova, and now the NBA draft. The Pistons drafted Stanley Johnson at number 8. When I think we could have taken Justice Winslow from Duke, and then they drafted Darrun Hilliard at number 38. The Pistons had the exact draft pick number 38 the second year in a row. But what your take on Stanley Johnson and Darrun Hilliard? I think Stanley Johnson is a really good defender.
Yeah, he does. He plays with a lot of effort. I'll go with that. I don't know if. Listen, if I'm going to sit you down in a meeting, right? Let's play front office for a second here, Taylor. Let's play front office for a second.
Yep.
If I'm sitting there in a meeting and we're picking at 8 in the NBA draft, do I put up on my board? I mean, we keep having this conversation, and we may probably continue to always have this conversation, but let's have it one more time. Would I be putting up on my board, I'm looking for a guy that plays really good defense. Now, we look at his measurables. He doesn't have prototypical size. He doesn't have prototypical speed. He's not the greatest offensive player on the planet. He plays really good defense because he shows really good effort. Now, again, I don't want to sound sacrilegious here. I don't, because you know what? What won the Pistons the championship the last time around was the fact that they were very much built in that particular mode. They were the best tryhards you've ever seen in your life. Those guys put it all out there. And that's what endeared them to us. And to me especially, was that the effort that they put forth, the defensive effort that they put forth. So I don't want to discount that. But I don't put that on the top of my board. That is not what I'm picking number 8 for. So, again, I don't want to sound like the guy that's beaten up. I'm not beating up on the pick. Really. You can't. You can't beat up on the pick like that. We haven't even let the kid play yet. We don't know what they have in mind for him. So I don't want to sound like I'm beating up on the kid. But that would not have been my pick. I just want to go on the record as saying that would not have been my pick.
And now the Pistons are pursuing Danny Green from the San Antonio Spurs. What do you think, Ab?
Well, I mean, he doesn't move the needle for me. He doesn't move the needle for me. Again, it's really hard for me to see this picture, the picture that Van Gundy is trying to paint for us as fans. I don't see it. Does Green excite you? Does Danny Green excite you?
Well, he is. He's been a part of a championship team with the San Antonio Spurs, and he's a guy that can take it to the rack and lay it up and in, and he doesn't excite too many people, but he's still kind of a productive basketball player. He can, like I just said, he can take it to the rack. He can play a little defense and then hit some threes. You never know what he could do.
Okay, so let's do this like we're judging diamonds. Let's classify it like we're classifying steak. Okay, let's give this a classification. We know he's not great, right? We can throw that out the window. He's not great. Is he good? Can you tell me right now that he's good?
I think that he is good. He's not that great, but he is good.
He is good. See, now I don't define him as good. I define him as average.
Yeah, explain that.
That's where we'll our company on that one. I think he might be a little of gaverage to steal a line from our guy in Grand Rapids, Sean Baligian. To steal a line from him, he's gaverage. He's sometimes good and most of the time average. I really don't think that he's gonna put any more butts in the seat. I can't see how no one's ever gonna run a team through him. Is he a piece?
The Grand Rapids Drive of the NBA Developmental League, affiliated by the Pistons. Continue.
Is he a piece? Maybe. That's what he is. I mean, at this point, that's what he is. It doesn't move the needle for me. Gunny's got to paint a better picture than what he's painting, man. So there's not a whole lot of. Let's see, if the Lions have cornbread, what can the buttermilk biscuits? There's no buttermilk biscuits being baked for the Pistons right now. Not for me, anyways. I'm going to take a big wait and see approach, because this hanging out in the middle, man. This hanging out in the middle is no place to be. I'm telling you, because you'll never it's almost like quicksand when you're talking about the NBA. And think about it, dude. There's 24 positions on a professional basketball team. Well, you want to talk about having to get it right. Having to get it right. I don't know, maybe, I guess I don't want to be the guy that's short-sighted either and later on laughed at because, you didn't see what he was building, and he put together a squad and they played as a team, because Gunny does strike me as that old school basketball guy, that he gets it, he does strike me as that. But sitting back as a fan and watching him operate, I'll tell you what, I'm lost. I still can't figure out what exactly it is he's trying to put together.
Speaking of Grand Rapids, why don't we shift over to hockey real quick? We got just under an hour left on the episode here. Grand Rapids Griffins defenseman Nathan Paetsch pleaded guilty recently to sports gambling charges. And that was shocking to me last week. I have never heard of a Grand Rapids Griffins player getting in legal trouble, getting in such legal trouble. And Los, you're from the Grand Rapids area, and I think you should be following up very well on the Grand Rapids Griffins as well. So, what are your thoughts on Nathan Paetsch pleading guilty to the sports gambling charges?
Well, okay. For me, it's a grown-up discussion time. I think it's hypocritical on all levels in the professional sports for them to demonize gambling to begin with. Okay? Listen, the reason the NFL it's so popular is because you get Grandma to watch the team, get her to watch the games, because she has a fantasy football team. You understand that?
Yep.
So in essence, the lifeblood as of late, and the true popularity of our sports in America is, for the most part, built around gambling. That's really as much as we don't want to say that, the dirty little secret is that most of the reason people watch and consume sports these days is because they have a fantasy team. So, for us to look down our nose at one of our players from the Griffins and say, and I'll tell you what, I'm going to sound like a homer here, and the reason I'm going to sound like a homer is because I am a homer. This is not the rule in Grand Rapids or with the Griffins. It is the exception. As you say, you don't hear about the Grand Rapids Griffins having run-ins with the law or anything of that type of nature. We've had a few that might have had something a little too much to drink, and if you're ever on the west side of the state and are able to visit Grand Rapids, we have a really robust downtown with a lot of nightlife and whatnot, and they found themselves in trouble. Public intoxication.
Wow.
Attempt to drive, those type of things. Man. And believe me, they're far and few between. Those are the exception. They're not the rule. For the most part, the Grand Rapids Griffins are a model organization. And they built the product, and they given us a very good product. So, I'm not saying anything really bad about, the organization or even this particular player, because the backstory to this particular player, and I want you to understand this,
yep,
is that a prominent West Side bar, it's an old school bar. I mean, I'm talking about from the early 1900s type bar on the west side of town, got busted for gambling. And when they got busted for the gambling, they began to look and investigate other people in town that might have been associated with these people that were running a bookmaking operation here in Grand Rapids in a bar. And that's how he got implicated into the whole thing. But again, for me, if I look at it in its entirety, I think it's critical for anybody who's associated for being part of a gambling situation, a sports betting situation. How is he any different than the guy on the radio telling me to pick a player every day and I can bet as little as a quarter? How is he any different? So it's okay to bet on individual, because that's what you're doing when you play fantasy sports. You bet on individual players as opposed to the team as a whole.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So how is it any different than what's going on all day long, every day in sports than what this guy did? It's not really any different.
No.
He got, again, I'm going to go off on a tangent here, again, on my beliefs and that sort of thing, but it's the same old story. It's the same old story.
Yep.
He got caught. That's the only difference. I mean, really, and Pete Rose deserves a lot of what he's been getting lately, because he had a chance to tell the truth and he never did. We were even going to give him a pass. We even said, for years there, we said, hey, listen, if you just come out and say, hey, I gambled on baseball, all will be forgiven. We'll do whatever we can to get you in, and he wouldn't, and he wouldn't, and he wouldn't, and he wouldn't. And then finally, he breaks down and says, I did. But I never did. I never betted while I played. So he told the truth, but then he told a lie. So he does have a lot, what he's got coming to him. I think the guy in Grand Rapids, you know what? And have you noticed that in negotiations? Did you also read that? He's going to be signed. The ex-Griffin is going to be signed. what just happened with the whole gambling thing, it isn't going to affect his contract one bit. I just think it's hypocritical that anyone should raise an eyebrow, beginning with the tone of the article. And that's how I feel about it.
Speaking of hockey, the NHL Draft went on earlier this weekend, and the Red Wings, with their first pick, selected left winger Evgeny Svechnikov at number 19. And rounds 2 through 7, I haven't been able to catch up on that, but and
you know what, Taylor, I'm going to leave this one to you, man, because I don't want to sound ignorant. I have the foggiest idea who the guy is the Red Wings got.
Svechnikov?
Yeah, I don't have the. If he was standing behind me right now, I wouldn't know it.
Right, it's just the NHL Draft. The Red Wings have re-signed restricted free agent forward Joakim Andersson, the Joker. I like to call him Joakim Andersson, to a one-year deal worth $815,000. And then
insurance policy.
Yep. Yep. For the Joker. Yep. And then Pavel Datsyuk, their star center.
Yeah.
Out 4 to 6 weeks. Yep. Out 4 to 6 weeks after having successful ankle surgery. Now some fans think that Pavel Datsyuk maybe already past his prime due to his because he hasn't been healthy enough. It's been a major head scratcher for the Red Wings, and they needed Pavel Datsyuk when they needed a win, but Pavel Datsyuk, when he came back, he just kept rolling, and Datsyuk played with that fractured ankle. And now he's getting his ankle surgery done, and now the Wings have to wait on him for 4 to 6 weeks for him to be 100% and ready to play again. And thankfully he'll be 100%. This just recently earlier last week, the NHL has approved the new 3-on-3 overtime, the new face-off rule, and the expansion of over 30 teams. And let me see, what else did I forget? The Coach's Challenge, yes. All of those 4 things approved by the NHL, the Players Association, and the Board of Governors. Are you thrilled? Are you as thrilled as I am to see those being approved, and how they fix the game of hockey?
Well, for me, I'm in favor of everything that happened. I think the game is better today after what has been done. So, moving forward, I'm hoping with the 3-on-3 that we're going to see a game that is played by a team, decided by a team, instead of a skills competition.
In the shootout.
In the shootout. I'm not interested in seeing a game decided by a skills competition, but that's me.
which is unlike soccer.
Right? As far as the coaches challenge goes, it's long overdue, man. If we have the technology to get the call right, let's get the call right. That's what I say.
Yep.
If we have the ability to get the call right, get the call right. And anything we can do to enhance that ability is better for the sport. So I'm good there. And what was the other thing?
The face-off rule and the expansion.
It was the 3-on-3 of the coaching rule.
The face-off rule, the new face-off rule, and the expansion of over 30 teams. They were looking at Las Vegas, a team in Las Vegas, and then a team in Quebec. Now hold on a minute. The Quebec Nordiques are possibly returning. That would make 17 Eastern Conference teams. But if you look at the entire league picture, the Eastern Conference has 16 teams, and the Western Conference has only 14 teams. I'm thinking the Western Conference should be even here with a team from Wisconsin and a team from either Las Vegas or Seattle. I would take a team from Las Vegas, but a team from Quebec in the Far East, that's a definite Eastern Conference team. That would move either the Detroit Red Wings or the Columbus Blue Jackets back to the Western Conference, and that would be a disaster. And I don't think that would be proper. A Quebecian was looking at bringing the Nordiques back, but do you think that shouldn't happen, Los?
Well, look, I don't think it's the end of the world if it does. Listen, I know it's a lot. You know, where it really becomes an issue is the travel situation.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? That's where it becomes an issue. That's where it becomes an issue, is the travel situation. It's
especially with the Red Wings.
Than to go to Quebec. I feel you there. But it almost adds to the mystique of the game a little bit, kind of like Lambeau Field does for the Green Bay Packers. You know, it kind of gives them an advantage, so to speak, or an identity. Oh, no,
You're cutting off.
That's always going to be the headline. Hey, when other teams go up to Quebec, hey, you know, what are you going to do with the Quebec challenge or the travel, you know, and the obstacle of the travel? And so I can see it working to some extent. I can also see Vegas working. The only thing that scares me a little bit about Vegas is that I'm hoping that hockey isn't trying to go down the road where they want to tie themselves to gambling. You know what I'm saying? Yep. I think you're going to see. I think to me, when you say they're going to put a team in Las Vegas, I have a funny feeling that they want to kind of raise their cred, their street cred, as far as the fantasy and the bookmaking and the legal bookmaking situations. You know, hockey has its place, and hockey fans bet hockey. I don't see Vegas really gaining anything by bringing in a hockey team other than the fact that they really don't have any professional sports teams, because most professional sports teams or organizations or bodies or whatever avoid Las Vegas because of the conflict of interest. So, on one hand, I can see it being a good move going to Vegas, and I can see it being a bad move. On the other hand, I can also see where it's quite an inconvenience to go up to Quebec for the rest of the teams in their division. But at I can see where it adds to the storyline of a game, or a mystique, so to speak. What are we going to do when we got to go to Quebec, kind of a thing? Like, what are you going to do when you got to go to Lambeau in January, kind of a thing?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah,
It's a whole lot of things wouldn't give you again, I think there's positives and negatives for both sides. It'll be fun to sit back and watch. I guess that's what makes it fun. It'll be fun to sit back and watch and see how it all plays out.
Yeah, I'd have to agree, but I still think the conferences need to be evened out. The Eastern Conference already has enough teams, and the Western Conference needs to even up the amount of teams they have with the amount of teams the Eastern Conference has. I would take Las Vegas and Seattle. Las Vegas in the Central and Seattle in the Eastern. Unless a team from...
Well, I think Tampa can go the other way, right?
Tampa?
Yeah.
The Lightning? Oh, to the Western Conference? Moving to the Western... Moving to the West Coast? That would be logical if Quebec were to chip back in. The Lightning have already won one Stanley Cup.
Right, it would hurt my feelings. Yeah, I was gonna say it wouldn't hurt my feelings if they left. If we didn't have to face them anymore, it wouldn't hurt my feelings. So we could have beaten them. We could have. The
Red Wings could have easily beaten the Lightning in 5 games had the defense not screwed up so many times. 5 games, if not 4.
Yep.
Peter Mrazek was standing on his head.
Yup. I agree.
Yep.
But that's not taking anything away from Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is hell. I mean, look what they did. They did it all season. We were waiting for them to do it in the Stanley Cup. Just when you thought you had those guys down, you didn't. That just seemed to be the way that they had that Pistons mentality. If it wasn't rough, it wasn't right. So, hey, hats off to those guys. And if they move out of the division, I'm all for it, man. Bring on Quebec. Whatever.
Okay, we're gonna. We got 37 minutes left. We're gonna go straight to the Battlebots topic.
Oh God, we're really gonna do this.
Yep, we are.
All right. We're gonna go boldly where no man has gone before.
Yep. Yeah, we're talking spectator sport here, folks. Last week, Battlebots made its returning debut to television. It was first televised in 1999, and then it was retelevised on Comedy Central from 2000 to 2002 or 2003, and then it went off the air. And now, just last week, a new version of Battlebots premiered last week on ABC, on the ABC television network, on national broadcast television. It is on Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific, 8 Central, 7 Mountain Time on ABC. And Chris Rose is one of the co-hosts, one of the commentators of Battlebots. new Battlebots TV show. And in the old version of Battlebots, there used to be 4 divisions: the lightweight, the middleweight, the heavyweight, and the super heavyweight. And now the new Battlebots show has only 1 division. It's all just one tournament. They have to bring in their. They all have to bring in like a heavy robot or a super heavyweight robot, just like Ghost Raptor, Complete Control, Plan X, Rex, Nightmare, Tombstone, who just absolutely wrecked their opponent earlier tonight. Yeah, go ahead, Los.
So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Do you think it might be a situation where it could be viewed like NASCAR? Where we could consider, do you think one day that this could evolve into a quote-unquote sport? You know, because humans do manipulate a machine in a contest. And, I mean, who do we end up rooting for? Are you rooting for robots, or do you have a controller that you follow?
They have controllers. They have always had controllers. From day one. From day one, they have always had controllers. They control the robots to destroy one another.
So who do you root for? Do you root for the robot or the controller? Who are we invested in?
The robot and the controller are the same thing.
Ah, so you view them as a single entity.
As a team.
The robot as a team. Okay.
Yeah.
So the controller could be really good, and his robot could let him down. Or the robot could be really good, but the controller could let him down. Am I following?
Yep.
Okay. Go on.
Yeah.
I love it. An education chair. Battlebots. Here we go.
Yeah. Yeah, you can. But I thought you meant which robot do you root for? But I guess I was wrong. I guess you took it another way. But usually I don't root for any robots at all, like I used to back in the old days when I rooted for Vlad the Impaler and Backlash and Gladiator and then Biohazard and then Son of Waiachi back in the early 2000s when it was televised on Comedy Central.
Okay. So you were a robot man back then?
I just thought it was entertaining. It was amazing to watch. It was like really cool.
Expand on that. You were talking about entanglements should be outlawed. They should be.
Yeah. I saw for the first time ever. I saw Complete Control put the controller assembling that present for Ghost Raptor to the attachment of Complete Control, and then when Ghost Raptor struck at the present, it got tangled up in a net, and it always goes by the rule book that Battlebots does not allow entanglement devices. That's when.
So no nets. You can't have no nets.
Nope.
Can't have any of that stuff.
no nets, no sticky goo or whatever. Sticky goo is worse. Yeah, those are outlawed. Right. Those are illegal. That's why they had to do a rematch, and it was a much better fight the second time around. Both bots were really roughing each other up, and Ghost Raptor was declared the winner by judge's decision, and he got his revenge. In other words,
who judges this stuff, by the way? They actually have like a boxing judge? They score points for him?
Yeah, they score points. Yes, they do. They have 3 scoring judges. Box side. And
so wait a minute here. This is almost like the UFC of robot fighting, basically.
Yeah.
Where Battlebots is the infancy of the UFC of robot fighting, for all intents and purposes.
Yeah, in today's world, yes.
Okay.
Back in the early 2000s, there was apparently no ultimate fighting. I think, unless I can Google it up.
So actually, there was a lot. There's a guy named Hoyce Gracie. Look him up. One of the greatest.
Spell it.
Mixed martial art. Gracie. Like
Yep. Gracie.
Hoyce Gracie.
Hoyce.
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Hoyce Gracie. Yep.
Message the name to me on Facebook, please.
I will as soon as this thing is over. I'm one of those idiots that can't do more than one thing at a time, to be honest with you. But Hoyce Gracie, by the way, there was. Hoyce Gracie is actually one of the greatest MMA fighters to ever. In fact, the sport owes its entirety to him. The guy was like maybe 5'8", 5'9", maybe 170 pounds. And a lot like, because it's different now for MMA fighters. Now they do have weight classes and whatnot. But Hoyce Gracie fought a guy by the name of Dan the Animal Severin. He was a wrestler who was an amateur wrestler at Michigan and then began his MMA career. He actually, the guy's like 6'7", 300 pounds. Hoyce Gracie actually beat him in an MMA match. And if you'd seen the match, you'd never think that's even possible, that a guy who's 5'8", 5'9", 180 pounds could beat a guy who's 6'5", 300 pounds, collegiate wrestler, collegiate wrestler, mind you. Now, when he would fight, when you would watch Dan Severin fight other guys, he would just go in, grab the guys up, throw them to the ground, and begin to pummel them, and would knock them into submission. I mean, he would absolutely destroy everybody he fought.
Oh,
and Hoyce Gracie beat him.
Oh, man.
So maybe this is what we're seeing. I'm interested, dude. Not to go off topic. Let's stick with the Battlebots.
Yep. And there's a different concept to this new Battlebots tournament. The loser takes the wild card. The losers take wild card seeds to battle one another to see who moves on to the first round of the championship tournament. it's kind of like a round robin tournament type thing, and the winners get like an opening round bye.
Gotcha. So everybody fights everybody. Everybody gets a chance at everybody.
Yep.
For the most part.
Yeah, and there's only one giant nut. There used to be 4 back in the early 2000s for one for each division. But now it's only just one tournament.
So, this tournament, are we in the quarterfinals of it, or do they have a tournament every Sunday?
Well, they have fights every Sunday, but robot fights every Sunday. Right now, I would say, kind of like in the regular season type tournament portion. That's what I would say. Well, where they're at right now.
Cool. It's interesting, man. I think there might be a little bit of a future to it. I mean, the kids these days, they like playing video games, so I can see the gamers really coming out to become a spectator at it. As I said before, I'm kind of an old manish guy. It's hard for me to think about rooting for a robot, I guess. I can root for a robot, but I might be able to root for a controller guy. I would imagine that that's where the skill truly comes in. The guy that's able to use his whatever tricks his robot can do and strategically beat another guy. If you're not allowed to use entanglement and all that stuff in the sport. But I can see where that's because as new as this sport is, as new as the spectator sport is, I think there's an opportunity there. I think it just needs to define itself. That's why I wanted to get your take on it. Who do you root for? Do you root for a robot or do you root for a controller? But as you said, they're a team, so usually a controller. And now the controllers never switch up robots, or do they do different things to their robots?
Sometimes some controllers do. Like Vlad the Impaler's switched to first there was Vlad the Impaler and then Gladiator in the early 2000s. Dissector to I forgot his name. Let me check. Let me check the Battlebots website again. Get the results. All right. Ice Wave versus Razorback. Ice Wave by knockout. That was last week. Plan X beat Rex. Bite Force knocked out Warhead. Warrior Clan knocked out Nightmare.
You know where else they're kind of missing the boat on this thing too, man?
Yeah.
They should be talking about Team IBM or Team Dell, or I gotta believe that there's some, instead of these goofy names for, the Impaler. Here again, this is a guy just from the outside looking in. You know how in NASCAR people root for Chevy, or they root for Toyota, or they root for... I wonder if they should separate them up into teams like that. Just a thought. Go ahead.
I didn't get that actually, I'm I'm getting the matchups for tonight's episode earlier on. Bronco beat Witch Doctor. Overdrive beat Overdrive beat Shredderator. Ghost Raptor beat Complete Control. Lockjaw was its name. Lockjaw beat Overdrive. Tombstone. Let me see. Who did Tombstone? Who did Tombstone beat out of those 16 teams? I believe it beat Chomp. But that's about it.
Interesting.
Very
interesting.
Yeah, you really need to think about watching Battlebots every Sunday night.
I'm going to do that.
Yeah, it's every Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern on ABC.
So who do you got?
I'm not sure. I just wanted every match to be a good one.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'll tell you what, it is an honor to be in the BattleBot Elite company, man. You know?
Yeah.
I'm honored, and thank you for the education, man.
Thanks.
I had no idea that that you knew all the guys going all the way back to 2000. So these robots, they fight one another with control. The controller fights these robots against each other, and it's the clever ideas that they come up with for the robot that drive the matches. That's how you determine whether or not it was a good match or a bad match. Are they allowed to use fire? Can you use fire?
Yeah, they're allowed to use fire. Witch Doctor was like flaming out, still lost.
What about lasers? Are you allowed to use lasers?
Lasers are too much, I think. I think lasers would shoot through those windows and zap at the crowd, killing innocent civilians.
Okay, so no lasers. We got that. No, can't use lasers.
Right.
Lasers are okay. Lasers are out.
Right.
Gotcha. Well, man, I tell you what, it's been fun.
Yeah, it's been fun.
That does about 3 hours, doesn't it?
Yep. I gotta hit the hay right about now.
Yeah.
I want to thank Brian Eimers for listening in and sharing episode 157 for us. I want to thank you for talking with me. I want to thank everyone else that has listened as well. Let me see how many listeners I have. 11 live listeners. I like to thank them all. And I thank everyone in the world on iHeartRadio and SoundCloud tuning in. And I'll be back soon enough for episode episode 158. We'll both be back for episode 158, right, Los?
That's right. And hey, to those 11 listeners, do us a solid and share us if you think we're worthy. If you think we did a good enough job to share us, do us a solid and share what you've heard. I would greatly, greatly, greatly appreciate it.
Yep, please do. Thanks, Los. And, I will talk to you again sometime soon, hopefully.
All right, brother. It's been good. Thanks.
Yep, thanks. And for Carlos Martinez, I'm Taylor Phillips, signing off, saying TTFN, ta-ta for now.